Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a really big question, one that a lot of faith communities are grappling with. Are we supposed to build walls to protect our beliefs, or should we be building bridges to serve the world? We're going to explore a powerful argument that calls on Muslims to rediscover a massive legacy of contributing to all of humanity.
All right, so let's start with a really foundational question. What's the highest good we can actually achieve? What's the ultimate goal? Is it just about being a good person yourself? Maybe serving your local community? Or is there something way, way bigger we should be aiming for?
Okay, here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with this idea of boundaries versus bridges. Then we'll look at a so-called crisis of isolation. After that, we're going to redefine what the highest good really means, uncover an incredible legacy of contribution, and wrap up with how you fit into all of this.
All right, Section 1, Boundaries versus Bridges. This is all about balancing faith with civic life. And the source material kicks things off with a really critical point. Having firm religious beliefs was never, ever meant to mean building walls and shutting out the rest of the world.
So you see this distinction right here. On one hand, you've got your non-negotiables, the core beliefs, your worship. That stuff is solid. But on the other hand, you have civic life, things like justice pacts, fair trade, helping your neighbors. The argument here is that this kind of engagement isn't just allowed, it's actually essential.
And, this isn't some new modern take. The source points directly to the Prophet Muhammad's example. He was the perfect model of this balance. He joined a pact for justice before his prophethood and said he'd do it again in a heartbeat. He made trade deals with non-Muslims, attended community events. He was an active, integral part of the society around him.
Okay, but here's the thing. Over time, that engaged, balanced model started to shift, and it gave way to something very different, a kind of culture of fear and withdrawal. And that brings us to Section 2, the crisis of isolation.
The analysis really zeroes in on this one mindset, the desire to be safe. And look, the intention behind it is understandable, right? You want to protect your faith, so maybe you step back from politics or the wider culture. But the unintended result? We end up isolating ourselves in these little silos, these echo chambers.
And that's the real kicker. This whole mindset, it doesn't actually preserve faith. It just isolates it. It makes our vision smaller, shrinks our impact, and basically forces a retreat from the world stage. And that leaves this huge void where our positive contributions are supposed to be.
So why did this happen? Well, the argument is that this whole isolation thing comes from a pretty narrow view of what our faith is really all about. Which brings us right back to that big question from the beginning and to Section 3, redefining the highest good.
This is where we're really challenged to think. Is our definition of good just too small? Things like personal reward, building a local mosque, running a food bank, those are all fantastic, absolutely. But is that the entirety of our purpose? Are we thinking big enough? This table breaks it down really well. You've got 3 tiers of good. Tier 1 is personal worship, individual piety. Tier 2 is community service, local charity, helping neighbors. And both of those are absolutely crucial. But the source argues we often stop there and forget about the biggest, most ambitious one, that 3rd tier, the upliftment of all of humanity.
But here's the wild part. This idea of focusing on global progress, it's not some new agey modern invention. According to this analysis, it's actually about reclaiming a powerful and, frankly, forgotten history. Which leads us to Section 4, a legacy of contribution.
Think about this. For hundreds of years, some of the greatest minds on the planet were Muslims. And they didn't see their scientific or cultural work as something separate from their faith. No, for them, it was a core expression of their faith. It was how they served God, by contributing to human knowledge and well-being.
And just look at this timeline. We're talking about the foundations of algebra and algorithms, the world's first university, the invention of the scientific method, the father of modern surgery. These aren't just random, dusty old facts. These are world-changing innovations that literally shaped the modern age we're all living in right now.
Let's take Al-Khwarizmi, for example. His name literally gives us the word algorithm. His work on algebra is the bedrock of all computer science. The device you're watching this on right now, it wouldn't exist without him. That's a contribution to humanity.
Or how about Ibn al-Haytham? This is incredible. He didn't just study optics, he basically invented the scientific method. That whole process of hypothesis, experimentation, and conclusion, that's him. He laid the foundation for literally all modern research.
And then you have Fatima al-Fihri. She founded the world's first university. This wasn't just a school, it was a place for advanced, collaborative learning, the very model for the entire university system we have today, all over the world.
Okay, so this history is, wow, it's huge. But it brings us to our final and maybe most important section. What does all of this legacy mean for us, right here, right now?
The whole argument really centers on this powerful verse from the Quran, "You are the best people, raised for humanity." And the point made is that this isn't about being superior to anyone, not at all. It's about having a profound responsibility. It's a mission statement for humanity.
So the true mission, as it's laid out here, is kind of like a process. Step 1, you work on your own moral integrity. Developing compassion, a sense of justice, God consciousness. This shapes you into what's called a pristine person, someone who is trustworthy and accountable. But, and this is the key, it doesn't stop there. Step 3 is to take that character out into the world and use it to actively contribute to progress.
And this contribution? It can be anywhere. Public policy, science and tech, economics, education, the arts. Any field that uplifts the human condition. The idea is to get in there and be a force for progress, to help push humanity forward.
And here's a really important mindset shift that's highlighted. The goal isn't to tear everything down and start from scratch. It's not about revolution, it's about evolution. It's about engaging with the systems we already have and working from the inside to make them better, more just, more efficient, more compassionate.
So at the end of the day, it's about acting local, but thinking global. It's about connecting what you do every day, your job, your studies, your community work, to that huge, overarching vision for the progress of all humanity.
Which brings us right back to the beginning, but hopefully with a whole new perspective. This isn't just some interesting history lesson, it's a personal call to action. When you think about this incredible legacy and this grand mission, it leaves each of us with one big question. What will be your contribution to humanity?